YOB will be reading from Robear and the Reaper by Tim Stegaheis, where a series of metaphysical misadventures leads to a years-long search for the king of the necromancers. Enjoy. Chapter 12. "Well," said Robear after a long silence, "I guess we had better head back to the ship and see what we'll be doing next." "Not you," said Death. "The others may go, but you and I have business yet." Abruptly, the rest of the team and staff were gone, and only Robear and Mamma were left. "Mamma Nettie," said Death, "you go on out and finish preparations with your Scratch Reaper. Robear and I have business here." "You be a good boy, Robear, and don't argue," said Mamma as she walked back out and was gone. "What are we to discuss, sir?" said Robear. "Have I done something wrong?" "No," said Death. "It's just your time." "My time?" said Robear. "Roby," said Death, "you have been dead for many years. Did you think that you were off my schedule?" "But," said Robear, "the team, the mission, what about them?" "They'll be fine," said Death. "Most of them will be going on to other positions anyway. I have already spoken to Mamma Nettie, and we have plans for her future." "But not mine," said Robear glumly. "You have graduated," said Death. "You have done here all that you were meant to do. Now you get to go on to what's next." "What's next?" asked Robear, not really wanting to know, but feeling that he should ask. "Not here," said Death. "Come with me." As they walked, Robear thought of a question. "Death," he began, "if you had not brought me onto the team, what would have happened to me? Would I have gone to hell?" "It's not like you think," said the Reaper. "After the heavenly host had made certain that you understood the implications of your life, you would first have stayed in the valley for an age to think about it. Then you would have been brought to a place of torment for your demons and shadows to tease and punish you. The higher demons are intentionally terrifying, but they do not usually harm you. You would have done that to yourself." "Myself?" asked Robear. "Yes," Death continued. "No torment is as powerful as your own expectations and fears. These would have been set loose on you, and your own self-judgment would teach you far more than anything the demons might do to you. The demons are really not so bad. They mean to teach you, not destroy you." Robear followed Death out into the valley of the shadow of death, where they were joined by his grandam. She wore a dress suitable for the current styles, and had a sword at her hip. "Grams," said Robear, catching her up in a hug, "it is good to see you after all this time. I love you, Grams, but Death says it's my time, so I guess this is goodbye." "Goodbye, yes," said Grandam, "because we are both done with this existence." "You were leaving too, Grams?" said Robear. "Well, at least we had some time to see each other." "Yes," she said. "We can talk as we go for our last walk together." Then Robear's shadows and demons came out. Their bindings were dissolved. One by one they said how much they enjoyed being part of him, and said their goodbyes. Robear was sad to see them go, and felt empty. He was glad, however, that they would go on and not be tied to his fate. He was surprised to find that he loved his shadows and demons, and that he wanted good things for them. Death led Robear and Grams over a rise and into an adjacent valley. "I'm so proud of you, Roby," said his grandam. "You really had an adventure with this existence, didn't you?" "I guess so," said Robear. "I'll surely miss the team and all." "Everything's for the best," said Grandam. "Those who still have work to do will grieve, get past it, and go on with their work. We get to retire." The landscape became regular and flat. A building Robear had not suspected came into view. "Is there a heaven for us, Grams?" asked Robear. "Oh, there's heavens aplenty," said Grams, but those are for people who feel that they must be rewarded for following the rules and such. Eventually, they will realize that that is an empty and meaningless existence and move on. We don't need such diversions. We get to go straight back to the source. Do we get to be reborn, Grandam? Asked Robear. Do you know that? Irrelevant, Roby, she answered. You don't get to keep your identity, so why even ask? It's not like it's even you who's being reborn. It's just the same life essence. You don't plan on being selfish, do you? If you try to hold on to your identity or your memories, you'll just upset the balance. There is a reason for everything that happens. The building was much closer now, and Robear felt the fear that comes with knowing that she will soon be no more. He tried to be brave for his Grandam. No memories, Grandam? He asked. Not even of you? Not even of yourself, Roby, she answered. Those go on to the Maker and become his property. The Maker? Asked Robear. Do you mean God? God when he wants to be God, Goddess when she wants to be Goddess, and the Divine Principle when it wants to be the Divine Principle. What did you think, that the Maker experiences limitations? Other than those that suit the Maker, of course. The Maker just is. There is really nothing more to it. I wish I could understand it the way you do, said Robear. So why don't you ask, said Grandam. We're here. They entered the building, which was small on the outside, but huge on the inside. The light-colored floor seemed to disappear into an infinite distance. There before them was a great spiral shell-looking object. Next to it, and drawing all their attention, was a marble throne with an enormous being seated on it. He looked like a man with gleaming skin that changed colors as you looked at him, yet somehow always was the same. He wore a sheet or robe across his lap and fit all the proper ideas of God. He smiled in a fatherly fashion at the small group. Well now, he said in a voice that was not really a voice, there are two of my beloved beings who really distinguish themselves amongst their peers. It is good to see you finishing your existence with such great accomplishments for us to remember. The hand of Grams was pressed firmly into his back to reassure him. Roby stepped forward, nervously cleared his throat and his mind, and spoke. Hello, sir. I was hoping to ask if I might be allowed greater understanding of the process of, ceasing to exist. I mean dying and moving on to whatever comes next, I think. Oh, the being laughed. Roby, you don't need to be nervous when you address me. I'm as much a part of you as your very thoughts. In fact, in many ways, I am your thoughts. You're curious. That's good. I will try to convey to you an understanding of what it means to be, so you will know what it means to not be. Although it is more truthful to say that you are an illusion of being that I create for myself, and this is just the return of a bit of myself to myself. I am an illusion? Robear asked, feeling more comfortable now. I am part of you? Are you saying that I am God? Oh, not like that, laughed the Creator. All beings are part of me, and I exist through all of them, and you in the manner that I choose. Without apparent change, Robar's father was sitting on the throne. I took care of you and your ma when I lived as your pa, he said. Next, the Creator became the high priest that murdered Robear as he had lain helpless in the dark ritual. I motivated you, boy. I sent you on your way to death, he said. An arrogant young girl, whom he remembered from the clothing store, was sitting on the throne. She studied the back of her hand and barely glanced at him. I taught you resentment to overcome and humiliation to outgrow as I treated you to my selfish ways, little poor boy, she said smugly. Robear saw himself now seated on the marble throne, looking down on him, grinning his most winning boyish grin. I kept our secrets and never told anyone that I was sexually attracted to that dark-haired girl we tricked out of her life savings, he said. I never told anyone that I placed a few dollars back in her pocket as she slept, so she would have something to eat that day, he said. A goddess of light, radiating glory and truth, appeared floating before them. I choose what kind of divinity I am when I come to my faithful, and what form they will perceive when I choose for them to perceive me, she said. The Creator being was back on the throne again. I am all of these, as well as every other person you can think of, he said. All that is happening now is just that you are returning to me your source and truth. My truth? Inquired Roby, still reeling from the display. Yes, said the Creator. The truth is that you never left me. You were just dreaming that you were separate and alone. The illusion of being a separate individual was necessary for you to gather up new experiences and learn things. This is how reality is created and maintained. Without new experiences and creative understandings, the reality of existence would cease to be for lack of activity or thought. While I can create a reality out of nothing, it is more efficient and fun to let you beings pretend that you are gallivanting through this real world, having real problems, and thinking up new solutions. It keeps everything fresh and vital. When you stop being you and start being me, you will understand this far better. I will become you? Responded Robear incredulously. You are already me, replied the Creator. You just are not aware of it yet. And Grams? Robear asked. Grams worked hard to see past the illusion, said the being in the throne. So I let her glimpse past the dream and see some of the truth. She will learn much more when she becomes me. And this will happen when we enter this device, said Robear, looking at the seashell-like object next to the throne. This is just a symbol to make it easier, Roby, said the Creator. You can make it happen just by letting yourself go and letting your awareness drift into the knowledge that all is me and you do not exist. It is simple, really, but many have difficulty, so I have this device to help you. Robear turned to his grandam and smiled warmly. I think I understand it, Grams. I want to be human one last time, and then we will see what we will see. I love you too, Roby, said his grandam with tears in her eyes. I love you too, said Robear as he hugged her deeply. I love both of you also, said the Creator, now human-sized, as he wrapped his arms around the two spirits. I love you as well, said Death, but I do not hug. It just does not work for me. His apparent discomfort caused the other three to chuckle. So, said Robear, we just let ourselves pass away into you, and all is done? Think of it this way, said the Creator. Everything is always simpler than you believe. This is no exception. Robear allowed himself to forget all that was not part of the here now and closed his eyes as he felt his mind drift off into a kind of sleep that relaxed everything and left nothing to worry over. His memories drifted away, and his stresses and concerns went with them. His emotions settled down to naught, and he allowed a comforting blankness to well up and erase all that was left. The merest hint of a supreme joy began to filter through and encourage him. The hardest thing to let go of was his sense of himself. Without his self, what could he experience? But he finally let that go, and the joy of returning to the source and sum of all things engulfed him and drove away the final resistance. He dissolved into joy and melted into infinity and eternity.